Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? I was perusing the interwebs today, and ESPN.com has a piece up right now and it's a collection of their NFL contributors, where they're ranking the NFL rosters heading into camp. And I'm not going to bury the lead. I think we all understand what the Saints are. They're a team that not many people are going to be high on this year. And they collectively ranked the New Orleans Saints with the 20th overall roster in the NFL, 20th. For what it's worth, what I found really interesting is that they've got Atlanta one spot ahead at number 19, and that was the highest spot in the division. So you got Atlanta at 19, the Saints at 20, the Bucks at 22, and Carolina at 29. Incidentally, I saw today where Florio over Pro Football Talk put out his pre-camp power rankings, and this one blew me away. He's got Tampa Bay at number 9. So Mike Florio has Tampa Bay at 9. ESPN had Tampa Bay at 22. One of the most massive disparities you'll see. For what it's worth, Vegas has Tampa's projected win total at 7.5. So same as the Saints. So they're kind of what in the eyes of Vegas. But Florio, anyway, at Pro Football Talk, very high on Tampa in this division. I don't know that anybody should be on anybody in this division, which is why it's inherently winnable. It's why the Saints really have a shot, because I don't think anybody in the division is going to be great. And Atlanta this year is in the same position the Saints were a year ago, where you got the veteran free agent quarterback that everyone thought, okay, that makes you the best in a bad division. It makes you the tallest short kid. And it didn't work out. Baker Mayfield, the Bucs won the division. They may do it again this year, but we'll see. But what was more interesting, I think, about this ESPN piece, ranking the rosters. In so doing, they also looked at some of the sort of questions or superlatives of the roster, like biggest strength, biggest weakness, X factor, etc. Y'all, I could not disagree more with what these ESPN contributors wrote. I don't know that it's possible for me to disagree more with. Now, I agree with them about where they have the Saints roster ranked, about 20. That feels about right. Not in the bottom 5 of the league. I mean, you still got talent. It's aging talent. I mean, you won 9 games a year ago. You were 9-8. You're not an awful team, but you're not in the top half of the league. But they ranked the biggest strength on the New Orleans Saints as edge rusher. The biggest strength on this team. Yo, if edge rusher is the biggest strength on the New Orleans Saints team this year, then the New Orleans Saints will be a 4-win football team. Like, let me remind you, the Saints last year had 34 sacks. 34. That was 28th in the league. You were 28th out of 32 teams at sacking the quarterback. Cam Jordan is coming off the worst season of his career since his rookie year. Isaiah Foskey and Peyton Turner look like busts right now. Tano Passanio has a ruptured Achilles. Chase Young, you went and signed him. Great. He missed a chunk of last year. And oh, by the way, just had neck surgery. Carl Granderson is great. That's about it. Now, maybe Chase Young looks like he did the middle 2 years of his career, or when he was rookie of the year. Maybe Chase Young plays to that level. Maybe Cam Jordan drinks from the fountain of youth. Maybe Granderson has another great year. Maybe Foskey or Turner decide to earn their money. That's a lot of maybes. You're going to tell me that's your biggest strength on the team? Yeah, if that's the biggest strength on this team is in for a long year. Now, they also looked at the biggest weakness, and they ranked the biggest weakness as interior defensive line. Now, I agree that interior defensive line is certainly a question mark, maybe even a weakness on this team. That's fair. I mean, last year, the Saints were 22nd against the run. For a team that had its hallmark of going like 3 years without allowing a 100-yard rusher, their run defense last year was abysmal. Part of the reason the Saints' pass defense statistically looked so good wasn't that their secondary played great. It was that team just got a lead and ran the ball against the Saints and ran out the clock. So I agree that the run defense is a question. But the biggest weakness on this team is undeniable, and it's the offensive line. I mean, that is not only the worst unit on this team, that's one of the worst units in the entire NFL. You lose 3 starters on that offensive line. The only 2 you have returning are Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz, who's one of the worst graded at his position. Trevor Penning, who was had a 73% pass block win rate last year at tackle, which is one of the worst in the NFL. You're hoping is your starting right tackle. Taliasi Fuungu, I think, has a high ceiling, might be starting at left tackle as a rookie, and maybe it's Nick Saldiveri, a guy that was a healthy scratch and a tackle eligible last year, is your left guard. I mean, the worst unit, the biggest weakness on this team is by a mile the offensive line. Now, they listed X factors as offensive tackles and the non-starter to know as wide receiver A.T. Perry. And I do find that interesting. I think A.T. Perry could be that. Look, somebody's got to break out. Somebody in this receiver room has to be there to catch passes after Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, who we're all high on. But is it A.T. Perry? Maybe. Is it Bub Means? Maybe. Is it Cedric Wilson, a veteran guy who had some really nice seasons in Dallas? Maybe. So, yeah, A.T. Perry could be that guy. But my guess for that would be Kendre Miller. Because I think we've looked at this so much now at the running back spot, and especially with Alvin Kamara's contract situation that's going on right now. I mean, I don't know that New Orleans is going to feed and feature Alvin Kamara at this point in his career, especially with the contract issue. I think you have to find out what you have in Kendre Miller. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you do that to spite Kamara. It's that you used a 3rd-round pick on Kendre Miller last year. He was slowed a little by injury. If he's healthy, you got to find out what you have. Because, he was a 3rd-round pick. You don't have the 5th-year option. Now you got to figure out what you got, because by the end of year 3, you need to be deciding, are you extending him? Because if not, then he's hitting free agency after his 4th year. So Kendre Miller would actually be that guy for me. Or, on the other side of the ball, Jordan Howden, a guy that, with Marcus May being gone, is probably going to start for you at safety. He and Jonathan Abram, either way, is going to play a ton. Those would be the 2 guys that I would give you before I'd give you A.T. Perry. But a long way to go with the New Orleans Saints. But when you see the roster rankings, Pro Football Talk ranks the Saints roster 24th. ESPN ranks it 20th. Vegas over under 7.5. There's not a lot to say. I mean, we're going to spend a lot of time between now and the start of camp having the same conversations over and over until we start getting some of the answers in training camp about this team. And hopefully they're answered to the positive and to the affirmative. But it's one of those where I can't just believe it. I got to see it. Because it's 3 years now without the playoffs, and so much of the mistakes feel like it's Groundhog's Day. So until I see something different, I'm just not going to believe it's going to get fixed until I see it. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.